This chicken pot pie soup puts a whole new spin on chicken pot pie. If you love soup, if you love chicken pot pie, this is a cozy, hearty, warm pot of goodness. And just wait until you see how easy this is and how we make this topping. Let's make chicken pot pie soup. To get started, I'm going to get the vegetables prepped for the chicken pot pie soup. I already have some garlic here that I keep chopped up in my refrigerator, so that's ready to go. Whoa, my onion fell apart. We'll make it work. I'm just going to set this aside. I should have got out my bigger chopping block. And instead, I have this tiny little board. Okay, that's better. Next, I'm going to do some celery, and this really needs to be used up. Oh no, it's not too bad. I'm just going to get it washed up and chopped up. And this chicken pot pie soup is going to have a lot of vegetables because that's what we like. But you can adjust the quantities for things, as I always say, or leave out things that you don't like. I do that all the time when I watch people's recipes and get ideas. Of course, I'm sure you do the same thing. Or add things that I'm not adding here that you would like. If you watch any of my videos, you know that I pretty much crave fresh vegetables on a regular basis. So I use a lot of them. And just cut these to whatever size you like. Just going to move those over. Now I'm going to peel and cut up a bunch of carrots. I need more room again. So I'm just going to put the celery into the bowl. I'm also going to cut up some potatoes. I need to peel these. And I'm just going to put these into a smaller bowl with cold water so I can rinse them, wash and rinse them. I'm going to just get these rinsed and washed and whatever I'm trying to say. That's it. Here's our washed potatoes ready to go. The last thing I want to chop up, and this is totally optional, I just have them on hand and they need to get used up, and I think they'll go well in the soup, are these mushrooms. And I'm just going to give them a little chop. This is one of those ingredients, though, if you don't have the mushrooms, you certainly could make the chicken pot pie soup without it. I love mushrooms. I love the flavor that they add and the texture. I never liked them as a kid, and now I love them. Okay, now I used almost that whole container. I still have a little bit left. I have this thyme. It's not homegrown. I do have some homegrown thyme over on my window ledge, but I want to use this up first. So I'm just tying this up and I'm going to throw it into our pot of soup. I love doing this with thyme because all the little leaves just fall off and go into your pot of whatever you're making, and then you just fish out the sprigs that are tied together. And I think that is everything for prepping. The only other vegetable we have are some frozen peas, which we will be adding later. So we are ready to head over to the stove and get started. Okay, for some reason I didn't hit the record button. So now I need to tell you what I did. I added to the pot grass-fed butter. Not that that matters, but that was just what I had. I get this from Costco, and this is what it looks like, along with olive oil. And then I've added all of the veggies in. Not all of them. I added the onions, carrots, celery, and potatoes, and I'm just letting those cook for a little bit. So far that's all we've got going here. You really didn't miss anything. And I'm just putting a lid on it just to speed up that process a little bit, but I am going to turn the heat down. And while we're waiting for those vegetables to soften up a little bit, I just want to take a second to mention that for today's chicken pot pie soup, I am using this chicken. For this recipe, I would normally use bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs, and I would fry those up or do a combination of frying and baking and take all the meat off the bone and use that. However, I did not have any bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs, but I did have this rotisserie chicken that I had previously cut up and stuck in my freezer, so I am using this, which is just making my life a whole lot easier. You could do either way, but I just wanted to mention what I am working with today. Let's head back over. So this is perfect. This is just what I wanted. I can just tell by how it looks and feels that got a bit of a head start. So I'm going to add my bundle of thyme, all of the mushrooms, the garlic with some salt, not too much salt. We can always add more later, and pepper. This recipe can handle a lot of pepper, but if you don't like so much pepper like I do, you can go a little easier on that. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is going to be so good. Okay, I'm just going to cook this for another minute or so. And for today's recipe, I'm using Kettle Fire chicken bone broth. These are little, they didn't have the big ones, so I have 2 small ones. And I'm going to be using a little bit of chicken bouillon powder as well. Next, I'm adding in a little bit of flour. Not too much, because you don't want to make this into like a stew. We still want it to be a soup. I'm just going to cook that flour off for another minute. Now I'm getting the chicken stock added in, or the bone broth, whatever you want to call it. And water. I'm going to let this come up to a boil, and then I'll turn it down and simmer it. It's boiling, so I'm going to turn it down. And before I let it simmer, I'm going to add in the chicken bouillon powder because I forgot to do that. I'm doing about a tablespoon, and then I'll go in and taste this after it's had a chance to simmer and see if it needs any adjusting. It's perfect. It does not need anything added to it. I just scooped up a couple of veggies. I want to see how they're cooked. Everything's good. Let's add the chicken and make the puff pastry. Before I add the chicken, I just want to fish out the bundle of thyme. So all we are doing is breaking these up into squares. And we just need a little heavy cream. And we are just going to brush the pastry. A little bit of salt. And these are going into a 400-degree oven for 20 minutes. You guys, this chicken pot pie soup turned out phenomenal, and the element of the puff pastry took this to a whole nother level. I just want to say I hope you try this recipe, and thanks so much for taking time out of your day to hang out with me in the kitchen. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe, it's free, and I can't wait to see you next time. 10 out of 10.